Sidelines with Rob Brown. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Brown with you here on this Wednesday college sports roundtable, man. Got a packed show like we always do. Our job, consistent, great content. So batting in the leadoff position is Dudley Dawson, hogville.net, followed up by the coach, John Brady, formerly of Samford, LSU Final Four in 06, and Arkansas State, currently the color analyst on the LSU basketball radio network. Hour number 2, Yancey Porter is going to check in today, and he is going to talk about Chris Beard. It was like 2 weeks ago, before anybody else was talking about it. Yancey said it on this show. Chris Beard to Ole Miss. It has happened, and they are excited in Oxford. I mean, that guy is so excited for another opportunity. Man, wish him well. He's the winner. You know, some people get A's, some get B's, some get C's, some D's, and some F's. They're all reading from the same books. The basketball rules are the same for everybody. He's one of those guys that gets A's. He is going to be successful, I believe. And in the final segment, Olin Buchanan checks in, texags.com. Gig 'em. He's going to explain to us what all these Aggie cheers mean, the understanding, because that's one of the great mysteries of life. But Olin is an incredible, formerly a writer for the Austin American Statesman, now with texags.com. Just a fantastic guest talking about what's going on in College Station on the Western Front, all out there in Texas. Follow us on Twitter at sidelines_live. 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, 2 hours a day, 50 hours or more a month of content. Hit that orange Patreon button on the sidelines.live website. Love to have you join us. $5, $10 a month. Be a subscriber, insider for Sidelines. So let's get moving. The tournament started last night. If you hadn't filled out your brackets, Dudley, does that mean you can still fill out your brackets? Of course it does. And I know you're going to get them all right. Warren Buffett, Dudley Dawson will give you his routing number, his account number. So when he gets the perfect bracket, you can send him the $1 billion. Isn't that how it works?
Yeah, I'll give him that regardless of whether I win the tournament or not, because maybe he'll get confused and hit my button instead of his. So
that's right. He's always said he doesn't want to leave his kids too much money to where they won't get out of bed in the morning and have any incentives. So there's plenty of it to go around there, Warren. Hey, is this not I saw on Twitter last night, Paul Feinbaum put out there, what's your favorite moment in NCAA memory? I just replied, opening day is, to me, the best day because everybody is undefeated and everybody's optimistic. And Friday is St. Patrick's Day. I mean, does it get much better than this?
No, I love this weekend, especially Thursday. I'll be in we're fortunate enough to have a theater room here at the house. I'll be in there 11:10 tomorrow morning
it's called a man cave, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The all goes up, and I'll be there all day. So luckily, no, I don't have to leave the house to cover anything tomorrow. So
yeah, it is incredible. Dudley, is it fair to say that Arkansas, they were 8-10, they beat Auburn 9-10, lost to A&M 9-11. They're in the tournament because, like the kid who studies hard, comes to class, asks questions, goes for extra credit, does all those little things, they get the good grades. They're there because they play a tough competition. And what's their net ranking? 18, 19?
Yeah, and the net's a big deal. I still don't totally understand everything about it, but I know that if you play pretty good competition in the non-conference and those guys go on to do well, then it really helps you out. And that's certainly what Arkansas has done, being 8-10 in conference. So it's not, what they started out to. And I think that, most people and the coaching staff would say to this point, it's been an underachievement. But tomorrow opens a new door. We'll see whether they step in it or whether they step in it through the first half and then step back out in the second half, which is really a lot of what they've been doing here. There certainly is a lot of talent there, but you know that, gosh, they hadn't been finishing off games. Should be interesting against Illinois, and then you know, if you get a shot at Kansas, you get a shot at Kansas, and go from there.
Well, that's what you want. And Dudley, you have covered Arkansas, but again, you know, our guests on Sidelines, they cover their schools, but they also know the competition. They know the big picture. Is this the most talented roster that you've seen at Arkansas in recent memory? And the second question to this is, had these guys all been playing together from the beginning of the season, could you have had a Fab Five type of season potentially? Because Musselman is that good of a coach. You give him the talent, he's going to win.
Most talent in quite a while, absolutely. You know, when you just look at sheer skill and all that, as I've talked all season long, they didn't recruit enough shooters. I think that there are a couple of guys that they could have gotten in during the portal transfer period that really would have helped them out and allowed the talent of the drivers and scorers on this team to do a little bit better. But when you're in the 300s shooting from 3-point range, it's going to be tough. As far as you know, you have to look back at that late 1980s, early 1990s in terms of talent for me, because that's your Mayday. And Oliver Miller and several guys that went on to play in the NBA, they came here, did it. There'll be couple of guys here who will obviously have, you know, it looks like only play one season here. Yes, they had a couple of injuries and some interesting situations, but it you know, it just hadn't fulfilled what was the expectations. And one of the reasons that you have those expectations is not only because of the talent that he recruited, but also what he's been able to do with lesser talent, I would say, but more complete basketball teams that you know, have more. The other teams have had more mental and physical toughness, I think.
Yeah, and that's something Coach Musselman talked about. And just as an observer watching Arkansas play, they can get up by 15, 14 at halftime, and then in the second half, the last 3 minutes, be down by 2. And that's what he's talking about, isn't he? Just maybe it's a lack of concentration, because you're talking to an ADHD, OCD guy. And I forgot, what was the question I asked you? No, I'm kidding. Well, talk about that, though. That because you're a keen observer.
Yeah, and another thing, you know, I you know, just personally like Coach Muss. I think he's a good guy. Certainly, there's been some controversy around the program after the end of the ball game the other night. Lots to unpack there, but I do think that the fact that he's been able to take lesser talent and get to the Elite Eight and not do it this year has some people feeling like he underachieved and hadn't been able to reach them. Sometimes that happens with coaches. I mean, I was on the staff with both Eddie Sutton and Nolan Richardson, and there were times when it didn't work. Most of the times it did. But, you know, they're going to be one of those years. But I would not count them out against the Illini. And then certainly would not count them out against Kansas, who has been a great team this year, but also had its moments where it just hadn't shown up to play.
Well, speaking of that, you know, a great coach with a talented roster that underachieves. You ever been to a Grateful Dead concert? People, think about these people that followed, or the Widespread Panic. Wonderful bands, I must add. But I remember in the mid-90s, I don't know if you were there. You may have been there, down at the Pyramid in Memphis, downtown by the river. We went down there, and, you know, they call them, they're not concerts. They go, "You going to the show, dude? We're going to Rocks." Oh, my wife and I at the time were walking around down there going, what are these people? I mean, it's like a religion. What's going to happen if Jerry Garcia ever dies? He died about a year later. I mean,
supposedly.
But yeah, and a lot of these kids are trustafarians, you know, clipping coupons. That's the thing about coaching. It can drive you crazy to have a talented roster. But I think in defense of Eric Musselman, I like this intensity. I love it. We got quite a few members of the Cherry Farm Arkansas folks got kids at Arkansas. He's out there on the concourse. He's out there among the students. He loves Arkansas. But I think what happened with them is, those guys didn't get to all play together, and trying to blend in all those egos, that's not very easy, is it? I mean, those kids, I'm sure, love one another, but they all want to be the man. There's only one.
They all were the man either in high school or at their previous spots. And Coach Musselman, I think gets the tag of being a sore loser or a bad loser at times. Man, I sure like that better than a happy, a happy loser. And I think that's why they've had so much success, is because he drives and drives. Yes, the San Diego State incident, was not one that look back on with the flowers and rainbows and all that. But that passion and intensity that he has is usually translated over to his basketball team, and that's why he's been successful here. That's why the basketball teams have, for the most part, been successful. But yeah, you cannot point to this year's underachievement, at least to this point again, and not give credit or blame or culpability to everybody involved.
Well, I love competitive coaches because I think you should never be happy after a loss. And if he gets a little fiery after a loss, so be it. You got to shake hands, do the right things, but it's nothing against the other guys. You just want to win. You can scream at people all day long, but if they don't want it themselves, you know how that works. But I'm a huge fan of Eric Musselman. I love him because he's look what he's done from the day he got to campus at Arkansas. He turned it around, said this is how it's going to be, and he's delivered. So I would not want to play them right now. But again, Dudley, you've been around watching this for a while. Doesn't it drive you crazy when a team is losing and losing and losing, and that light's going to come on? Well, why hadn't the light come on? Isn't that a question that you ask? Now you're in the NCAA tournament. It's, one chance, one shining moment. You lose, you go home. All these guys, if they can put it together and play a full 40, talk about that. That's where they go on a run.
Yeah, there's plenty of talent there. I've said, when in discussing the game this week, that I don't think they're going to win it because of the three-pointers they knocked down. I don't think they're going to win it because of the inside scoring that they get off the first shot. What I think if Arkansas wins this, they're going to have to hit some mid-range shots. It can't be all or nothing. It can't be inside and just three-pointers because inside Brad Underwood and the Illini are going to pack his own in there like a lot of teams have, and just hope Arkansas keeps driving in there and getting charges and not making shots and all that. But I think the mid-range game is going to be key in this game. And also, I think that second shots, when Arkansas has gotten on the offensive rebounding and at least been competitive in that, they've been able to get enough points from the Mitchell twins, Jalen Graham, Jordan Walsh, some others. And I think that's going to be key. Obviously, not having turnovers and carelessness, which seems to happen after halftime more than it does before on a consistent basis, is also a big key. But it's going to be interesting at 3:30 to kind of see which team shows up. And that is not what you want at this point in the season, wondering which one of these teams is going to show up.
Yeah, there's a question from one of our listeners, Trent Reeves of the Crazy Donkey Mexican food truck restaurant, Palestine, Arkansas, and in Wynne, Arkansas. Trent says, do the Hogs look like a team that suddenly will become what we haven't seen all year because the stakes are so high? And what do we not know about Illinois that we need to know come tip-off?
I think, certainly there's a possibility that they finally realize that you lose this time, it's over. If you don't have a sense of urgency now, and I think that's been a problem at times this year, if you don't have a sense of urgency now, you just don't get what's going on around you. So, yes, certainly, there's the opportunity. but you just can't count on them. I mean, you just can't bet the house. You just can't be a guy who says that's definitely going to happen and have any credibility whatsoever, because it hasn't happened on a consistent basis. There have been bright moments. I mean, they have looked, a couple of weeks ago, all the national writers were saying, you don't want to play Arkansas in the NCAA tournament. This is a team that possibly could win it. And then they went out and lost 3 straight to very tough teams. Yeah. But still, a couple of those, didn't even compete where they needed to.
Yeah. Dudley, what do you read into, before we go to the break, a quick question, the fact that when Nick Smith came back, the Hogs were 2-5 in their next 7 games. It's not a knock on him. Is that just, it's hard to bring someone on, and it's about chemistry, isn't it?
Helps playing the bottom half of the league before you play the top half of the league. The scheduling was much different. I don't think that's been put into the equation much. Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, pretty good teams there.
Yeah. That was a murderer's row that last week at Alabama, at Tennessee, and at home against Kentucky. I mean, yeah, but they're not going to be, what have they not seen up to this point, Dudley?
Consistency. I mean, 2 halves.
Their opponents.
2 halves. Oh, the opponents.
Yeah.
And somebody mentioned, the questioner had about it, the Illini. They've got 2 guys that Meyer and another guy that have played against them before that are really good outside shooters. You're going to see a team that's a veteran team against a inexperienced team, and we know that this time of year that can be.
Dudley, hold that thought. That's where I want to go right after the quick break. The crazy donkey. Win Arkansas. Trent Reeves. We're going to get the rest of the answer to your question right after this.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Brown. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Brown back with Dudley Dawson. Dudley, you were talking about Illinois and that question from Trent Reeves over in Crazy Donkey about the matchup. And then I got another one from another listener that wants to ask you a question.
Yeah, the Illini have a veteran team. I think that you look at their schedule and you see that they beat UCLA and they beat Texas. Both of those were on neutral floors, but still, those are 2 teams that a lot of people are picking to at least be in the Elite 8, if not the Final 4. I've actually got UCLA playing in the finals before losing to Purdue. So it's a veteran crew, but it's very similar to Arkansas. At Illinois, 2012, Arkansas, 2013. The Illini have lost 3 of their last 4, 5 of their last 7. Sounds familiar. And they've had some inconsistent halves too, where they've been really good in one half. It seems to work the other way with them in terms of the first half and second half. But it could go either way, and that's the great thing about the NCAA tournament. In both games last night were pretty good. Got in some watching of those. Mississippi State, you felt for them; they had the shot to win it there, and the young man who had played so well didn't get it down, and they couldn't get the rebound in. But it's going to be I like to say it this: I do my bracket based on research and watching all year. And I feel real good about it going in. And then my wife basically sits around and says, who are you taking? I'm going to take the other team. And it works out better for her. So,
well, you know what? Picking the brackets it's a science. And man, you got to not think about the name on the jersey, the team name. Think about the matchup for that day of the game. And I just this is an interesting one. This is a statement from one of our listeners, Atticus Finch from Evergreen, Alabama.
Been a fan of his
really
work.
Yes, Atticus Finch, fine man. No sense of urgency in a room is the norm in group of one and dones. And I think there's truth in that statement. It's up to the coach to be able to say, look, you are part of a team, and make sure that happens. But these Arkansas guys look like they have a lot of fun together. They don't look like a divided team at all.
No, I don't think that's been the case at all. And I don't know what it looks like with one and dones. This is new up here. You know, this hadn't been the case. They've had a couple of 2 and dones, some 3 and dones, but 1 and done hadn't been a norm around here. And still, I think there's only probably going to be 2 going off this roster this year, and 2 that deserve to go. 1 based on the potential of what he was coming into the season. And Anthony Black, I think, has had a really, really good season, especially when you put it analytically up against some of the other players around the country and in history, what he's done in terms of filling up a stat sheet. Yeah, he looks tired to me down the stretch and had more turnovers than he should. But, you know, that's a big guard that gets a lot of things done. Again, the sense of urgency is something I mentioned. You know, I think they've got to play with that. But I don't know that it's specifically the one and dones as it is just a team-wide thing that I wish I could point out the reason, because I'd be a consultant and making bunch of money.
Yeah. Well, here's another one from a listener, the Dixie Pig in Blytheville, Arkansas. Dudley, do the Razorbacks legitimately match up with Illinois, with all the freshmen? It sounds to me, after listening to your comments a minute ago, like Illinois is going to be a tall order for this team.
Oh, I think they match up physically very well. Now, again, the experience factor, you know, I think it will probably play into that. The Illini have had plenty of people play in tournament, and they've had some good wins, and certainly they play in a rugged conference that you know has prepared them for this. But again, they're skidding into the tournament just as Arkansas is. So physical wise, I think Arkansas matches up fine with them. Experience wise, I think that's going to be the key, and it's a crapshoot. I mean, if Arkansas goes out and Devontae Davis knocks down his first 3, then it might be a day. If Devontae Davis has 2 turnovers in the first 2 minutes, then it's not going to be. It's going to be protecting the ball as it is in any sport.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is, and I'm getting a lot of questions, and I know you're going to be able to stay on a few minutes before you've got to get your wife to the airport, but with Coach Brady is, you know, who are his Final Four teams. And there's just a lot this year. We've heard this now 2 years in a row. Coaches will say, you know, and a lot of the writers and you're in that list as one of the smart people. There's 15 to 20 teams that could win the national championship this year. That makes it tough. But who is the dominant team? Houston's number 1. Hell, Memphis 2 weeks in a row played them on Sunday, lost at the buzzer at the Forum in Memphis. The next week, beat them 75-65 at Dickies Arena out there in Fort Worth. I mean, and now Calvin Sampson is really upset that he's got to go to Birmingham. And if Auburn beats Iowa, remember, that's a big deal for Auburn to beat Iowa. But, you know, I don't see a team out there that you think about like Phi Slamma Jamma this year. Do you?
No, absolutely not. Now, there's several really good teams, and Purdue is one of them. I've been watching them all year, and that's why I have them winning it all. But You mentioned Memphis and Houston. I really like Houston as well. And if Houston gets to Houston, that's a
I
pretty
know.
good deal. But the injury to Marcus Sasser certainly hurt them last week. And I think that was a tremendous decision by Kelvin Sampson to not play him on Sunday and not further aggravate that injury. The risk reward management there, I think, was an excellent decision by him, because the guy's got to be ready. He's a phenomenal player. He's to be ready for the tournament. Memphis has had a really good year, very competitive. They match up with Houston, and that's kind of a big rival with them anyway. But I think Houston has a chance to roll and end up playing UCLA is what I've got them doing in the Final Four.
What is it about Kansas? Bill Self, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not trying to throw out medical jargon freely. But I was told yesterday by one of our guests that he had 2 stents put in. That's a heart procedure. Is he going to be coaching his Kansas Jayhawks, or as Mark Emmert called him when he awarded him the national championship trophy, the Kansas City Jayhawks or something? What was that he called them last year?
Again, Missouri. I think he had mentioned something about Missouri too. I consider Bill a really good friend. We both come from Coach Sutton coaching tree and have spent a lot of time around each other. Obviously, I care more about his health than I do about
exactly.
What he's going to get done. On a basketball court, and I think that's the big thing. I am able to, I think, take away my personal feelings for him and his coaching, which has been great at times and which has not at times. They have had some big upsets in earlier rounds. I can't help but think that's a distraction when your coach, has been away and is not on the bench. And I think that's certainly something that played into their loss to Texas, last Saturday. I think they're better with him on the bench, but there's been some inconsistency there over the years. So, that there's an avenue for Arkansas to get through Kansas. There's also an avenue for Kansas, who has enough talent to get to the Final Four and win it all and be a repeat champ.
Yeah, I mean, Bill Self, his record, it's like a scorched earth policy against the Big 12 since he's in the last 17 years. I think Kansas has won 14 or 15 Big 12 championships. And the guy he's amazing. He played basketball again at Oklahoma State. That's right. All right. Here's a comment from Max Cady, Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. Interesting. Counselor, is that you out there, Counselor? Max Cady says, poor guard play will beat Purdue pre-Final Four. Let's talk about that, because I heard Jimmy Dykes say it, and I'm sure Jimmy. He's really good. He I really would love to get him on this show talking basketball. That guy's a junkie to basketball. He said something very prophetic 3 weeks ago. He said, at this time of the season, remember, good old guards will help you win a lot of games. And why it's like trying to find offensive linemen in college football nowadays. Man, no team is bulletproof out there. Again, let's talk about the guard play of Purdue. That's a question from Max Cady, Cape Hatteras, North Carolina.
I think the guard play from Purdue is solid. It's not spectacular. They're not, won't knock you over athletically, but they shoot the ball. And guard play is better when you have a 7'4" man in the middle who's a matchup nightmare. If you knock down a few jump shots, it helps him out. There's a reason I have Purdue winning it all. Now, they probably won't since I picked them. But I think they are a quality club, have great coaching, have experience, and that's why I have them going all the way. I don't think that the guard play is going to hold them back. If something holds them back, it will probably be Zach Edney getting in foul trouble.
Yeah. Well, you look at last year's Auburn team. This is another comment from Saul Rosenberg, South Beach, Miami. I like this one. Auburn last year had a formidable front line with 2 first-round draft picks, Jabari Smith and Walker Kessler, but the lack of great guard play doomed them to an early exit in round 2 against Miami, a team that started 4 guards. Yeah, Jim Larinaga, I don't know if that's another one. Jim, if you're listening, Saul Rosenberg, you live in South Beach, Miami. If you know Jim Larinaga, tell him we want him on sidelines. But, yeah, I remember that last year, Dudley, 79-60 up in Greenville. Man, I mean, good guard play is a precious commodity.
Yeah, and again, I think I've used the word consistent maybe too many times today, but I think that's been the case. Auburn's guards last year were certainly talented enough and had moments where they got on heaters and really well. But in that game, they did get outplayed by Miami's guards, and you got to give their coach a lot of credit for pushing the matchup that was best for him. He knew that Kessler and Smith were going to get theirs, but he had to be in a situation where they had to guard those, cause matchup problems for him as well. And I think, that played really well. He's proven he's a really good coach, obviously, over the years. And Miami has come back and is a very good team again this year. And, certainly are a threat to get back to the Sweet 16 at least.
Yeah. And Dudley, Coach John Brady is going to be on here with us right now. And like I said, a lot of questions from some well-known dignitaries here. Atticus Finch from Monroeville, Alabama, sent that question in the literary capital of Alabama. But Dudley, let's keep this going, man. First off, before we start with Coach Brady, let people know how they can follow you with all your great work. And I'm going to tell you, every time you're on here, I learn more. I didn't know you knew Bill Self. Bill Self is a hell of a coach, and he's in my prayers. I hope he gets better because, these games are important, but, I want his health. I'm with you because I don't know him. But Dudley, we lost Dudley there for a second. But Coach Brady, we're having a great discussion with Dudley Dawson, Hogville.net. We were talking about Kansas and, Bill Self, what he's going through right now. And for the second year in a row, I've heard that there are 15 to 20 teams out here that could win it all. So I've got a stack of questions coming in for you. And again, several of them have said, man, I didn't know Coach Brady was such a badass. I saw him in the SEC Hoops history thing the other day about the Final Four, and I said, that's the guy. But anyway, thanks so much for joining us. And it's a pretty great time of year, isn't it?
Oh, it's a wonderful time of year, and it's fun to watch. I'm planning my next 2 weeks on what I'm going to do Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and Sunday to watch all the games. So It's a great time. The best time of the year, really, in any sport except maybe the Super Bowl. Other than that, college basketball captures the whole country.
Yeah, the SEC Hoops history. Remember in the fall of 2019, and Dudley Dawson's going to be back with us. He had a pterodactyl run in and knocked his connection out. He'll be back with us in a minute. But that in the fall of 2019, SEC Network did a great 8-part documentary series, Saturdays in the South. I didn't think they could do something like that with basketball. But I don't know who these documentary professionals are. You met with them when they had you on there, but they've knocked another home run. It's hard to do a sequel to something that is that iconic. But, if you watch this, I think it's the greatest recruiting tool I've ever seen to attract college basketball fans who might be just didn't know how much tradition and history there was down here. And watching, again, people forget you replaced Dale Brown. And that stuff, about College Temple and all that the other day, man, when you came on, I had a 2-year-old, I had another one, in the bullpen about to be delivered, and another one delivered. I had 3 kids in 4 years. The 2 years that I was president of the Auburn Alumni Association in Memphis. I had a kid every year, and I said, I got to stop. I'm going to have too many kids. But man, that was a great time.
They repair vacuum cleaners of all kinds and take care of homes.
Okay. But, Coach, I just think that documentary has been incredible for interest and all. But for a 36-year period, I don't think people realize. It just hit me. For 36 years, there was Dale Brown 25 and you for 11 at LSU. That's a hell of a run. So we're about to take a break, and we're going to come back. I want you to just talk about what it meant to you to be part of that series. And again, this is an incredible time of year for guys like Frank Duffy, who, by the way, was on the show Saturday, Coach Brady, walking through the French Quarter in his Irish suit with his Irish friends, when all kinds of shenanigans and tomfoolery broke loose. But we got a great lineup, lots of questions. Dudley Dawson, Coach John Brady, right after this.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-City exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Brown. Talk sporty to me.
Coach Brady, again, talking about the SEC Hoops History documentary, and Dudley Dawson and I and everybody, we've loved watching it, but how cool was it to be a part of making it? And you actually were, a big part of that history.
Well, you said I replaced Dale Brown. I replaced a legend. There's no question.
Yeah.
It's not the easiest thing to do, to follow
Yeah.
a guy with that type of success and that longevity. It wasn't easy to do. But Coach Brown and I have become really good friends now, and it's really, really special to have that relationship with, when you think about LSU basketball, you think about Dale Brown now, along with probably Shaq, and Pete Maravich, but certainly Dale Brown's an icon here in Baton Rouge. But you're not part of the LSU series unless you've had some good teams. There are some coaches they didn't interview because their teams weren't very good. And I was fortunate to have some good players, and fortunate to have a lot of Louisiana players. And the only thing that disappointed me about that SEC thing is, I coached Collis Temple III. I coached Garrett Temple, who they interviewed. But there was also a guy named Glenn Big Baby Davis. And my top 6 players, when we made the run to the Final Four, 4 were from Baton Rouge. 1 was from Denham Springs, which is 10 miles down the road. The other player was Daryl Mitchell from St. Martinville, 50 miles down the road. So I think the uniqueness about that, and the other thing that was lost in that thing that they did not mention, Katrina hit New Orleans in August of that year. We were displaced the first month of practice. They used the Assembly Center as a hospital to fly people in, so we had to practice in other places, and then we won the SEC championship outright that year. Florida finished second, actually, behind us, and won the national championship. But we won the SEC, went to the Final Four, and really gave the state of Louisiana something to be proud of and cheer about after the destruction that Katrina caused throughout the Southeast, particularly in the city of New Orleans.
Yeah. I mean, I remember August 29th of 2005 very well. That's an incredible story, Coach. And I didn't mean to say replace. You followed Dale Brown, because you're right. And I love Dale Brown, just his enthusiasm. he would go into the locker room of an opposing team and congratulate them on special occasions. I mean, that's great sportsmanship. He's a hell of a passionate guy. So am I. And so is Dudley Dawson. And Dudley, I know you've got a few more minutes before you got to get going, but got some questions for Coach Brady.
Well, he just mentioned that sports can be more than games, and that certainly was an example of that right there, when things that you do on the court can help people off the court, and that help the mindset of everybody, I think. And certainly, Coach, you're to be commended for that, and doing it with local kids is great. I know when Arkansas won their national championship here, they had a lot of kids from Memphis, but a lot from Arkansas as well. And I think that had a little bit more. It's still the only one, here in terms of basketball. Now they got 49 in terms of track. They are the track capital of the world. But again, to be that program, that particular team, you look back on that and you look back on that fondly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
And you mentioned, Dudley, a lot of Memphis kids on that Arkansas national championship team. Trust me, if you live in Memphis, you might as well be from Arkansas or Mississippi anyway. So that's the best name ever for a professional sports team was the Memphis Tams in the old ABA, Tennessee, Arkansas, Mississippi. Johnny, do you remember Johnny Newman, guys, the basketball player at Ole Miss?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then Pete Maravich. When we were kids growing up, that's who we played. We all wanted to be those guys growing up. But I tell you, this SEC hoops history has just absolutely been incredible in terms of waking people up to what's going on. I got it, Dudley and Coach. This is an interesting point. It says super front line, can't hold up poor guard play 6 games in a row. You mess up one time, it's all over, Coach. Can you expand on that? We've been talking a lot about how hard it is to find good guards. And Jimmy Dykes said a few weeks ago on the ESPN game, good old guards at this time of the year can help you go a long way.
Well, I think there's some truth in that, but I will counter that with this. When we went to the Final Four, I had no true point guard. Daryl Mitchell was a 5'11", kind of off guard that could handle the ball. Garrett Temple was a 6'6", kind of a swing man they shared the point guard for our team. You talked about the front line. We had Tyrus Thomas, who was a 4 pick in the NBA draft, and then Glenn Big Baby Davis, that was MVP of the SEC that year. Those two guys kind of carried us, to be honest with you. I mean, our guard play was good, but we didn't have that point guard that controlled the game. Mm-hmm. But what Garrett Temple was probably the best one-on-one defender in the SEC. And I've always been a proponent of teams that defend well without fouling and then can really rebound the ball, have a chance to really advance in any tournament situation. Shooting can come and go, but if we can just take care of the ball, not turn it over, we didn't have a first-team all-league point guard, but we certainly had some other players, and we knew the value of the ball, and we could really rebound it, and we could really defend well without fouling, and I think that's what carried us. We, on the way to the Final Four, that's the year we beat Duke in Atlanta. They were the number 1 overall seed. They were number 1 team in the country and had J.J. Redick averaging 28 a game, and we held him to about 8 points that night. So that was the difference in that game.
Yeah. Dudley, again, I know you got a tight schedule, so let people know how they can follow you, and I know you got another question for Coach.
They're still allowing me to work at hogville.net, the best and website here for sports in Arkansas. I'll continue to do that, and Fearless Friday as well. I come on here each week and tell you how much I enjoy high school sports. Just, it's the backbone of everything here, and I just enjoy having my feet down in that area as well. But again, just Coach, this is the time of year. It's a great weekend, isn't it?
Wonderful, and the other good thing about it is it ends with the Masters tournament in Augusta, which is after the Masters is over. I have TV withdrawals because I don't watch a lot of baseball, but this basketball situation, NCAA, the Final Four, then they have the Masters, and after that, I got to figure out something to do on the weekends.
And baseball starts during then too. It's a time like no other.
You could come over here to the cherry farm and help us cut the 5 acres.
That's what I'll do.
Hey, I'm telling you, man, you're right. It's after the Final Four's over and the Masters. It's like all of a sudden you've hit a wall, or what do we do now? But of course I love college baseball going on as well, spring practice and all. But man, this it's so big. I can't think of one the greatest moment. Coach, got a lot of questions on here. One from Doug Dean in Birmingham, wanting to know who are your sleeper picks in the Final Four. Looking on here, says, ask for Coach Brady's sleeper Final Four. And also, folks in Birmingham that are listening, ask Coach Brady about when he's coming to the tip-off club in Birmingham, because they're really excited about that. And I know Dennis Latham, yesterday, my friend Dave Cody, longtime sports anchor in Austin, was listening, and we were talking about the Legacy Arena and all that. So a lot of Birmingham people excited about you making a return, because I know you were there for a long time on Lakeshore Drive at Sanford.
Well, I spoke at the tip-off club Monday. Kevin Skarbinski is running that thing now, or he's the MC, and he does a great job. He's one of the best sports writers I've ever been around.
Yeah.
And I spoke Monday in Birmingham, and we went through the bracket. And I don't have two different Final Fours. I don't have a sleeper Final Four, but I do have a Final Four. And I've got some, and there were some key games in this bracket that are pretty interesting. And the things that jumped out to me, number one, I thought A&M was underseeded. I thought they should have been a higher seed. And I think Auburn is fortunate to be able to play in Birmingham. And that was a break for Bruce Pearl's team as well. So those couple of things really stuck out in my mind. And then I think, in the matchup, you've got, if A&M can win and you've got Texas and A&M playing one another, do they put that together behind closed doors and anticipate those kind of games and put them in the same region to play each other? Maybe so. I don't think it happens by chance, but A&M, I thought A&M was better than that, and should have been moved up to at least maybe a 5 seed in my opinion. Yeah.
Well, and I was looking at the notes on here, and I'm thinking, you did come Monday in Birmingham, and the appetite for basketball, Legacy Arena, the city of Birmingham. We talked about it a lot yesterday. All the great restaurants and bars and hotels and things to do. That's a city that's really good at hosting a big time event. And you're right. And Calvin Sampson, they lobbied to get to Birmingham, but like Doug said yesterday, they can't really determine who they're going to play. But Auburn's got a tough task at getting past Iowa. And as the color analyst on LSU, you study this like a stock analyst does, doing the due diligence, managing a hedge fund. So what do you know about Iowa? Because there's a brand of basketball that we play in the SEC and in the South, and it's a different brand in the Big Ten.
Well, yeah, Big Ten's is a physical, by rule of thumb, is a physical type of team. I'm not sure if those teams top to bottom are as athletic as the SC is from top to bottom. And I've got Auburn picked in a close game there. I really debated on that particular game because Auburn offensively can be so inconsistent. Their guard play sometimes, and particularly the shots they take, I think, are sometimes questionable. And in a tournament situation, you're not going to be able to get that back. But I've got Auburn in a close one because of the athleticism that Auburn possesses. And we'll see how it plays out the last 5 or 6 minutes of the game. I think the pressure initially will bother the Iowa team. And if they adjust to the athleticism, the quickness, and the speed of the Auburn players, I believe they have a chance to win. But if the athleticism of Auburn over a 40-minute game is a difference maker, then I think Auburn wins the game in a close one.
Yeah, and that would be big. And then they do that, they get to play Houston in all likelihood. I think Houston's going to beat University of Northern Kentucky. Coach, we another team that you just mentioned about Texas A&M. You know, they probably do try to get these matchups. You remember 40 years ago in the tournament when we had that matchup with Louisville and Kentucky in basketball, and that was a big deal. That just happened. I think it was that in Knoxville?
I'm not sure.
I think it was, but we didn't think it would ever happen.
Duffy will know. Call Duffy.
Yeah, that's right. You know, and Coach, I'm sitting here looking. This is another thing from one of our listeners. This is interesting. Clyde Gustafson in Duncanville, Texas. I saw Stromile Swift destroy Chris Mim of Texas in Salt Lake City. You remember that?
Yeah, I don't know if we destroyed him, but we certainly got the better of him that particular day. And I remember Sports Illustrated put it on in the magazine. Stromile had a game-winning block. Mims had the ball in the post, and Mims turned to shoot it, and Stro was about a foot over the rim and met the ball, and it was a clean block. And fortunately, the official didn't call a foul. And I remember that was a pivotal play of the game in the last 2 minutes or so. So it was a good game against Tech. I've had some good games with Texas, and you know, Coach Barnes is an excellent, outstanding coach, and he's done a great job everywhere he's been.
You know what's cool is you know these coaches, and I think it's really special how, I mean, again, I love the sportsmanship part of it. We're all competitors. We all want to beat each other. We get that. But I like how when LSU's playing Alabama, you'll get to visit with Wimp Sanderson. You'll get to visit with, you know, the other coaches. I don't know if you've had any time to sit down with one of the – he's kind of a dull guy, not real colorful, Sonny Smith ever. He's one of the coolest guests we ever have on this show. That man is – I mean, he just gets better with age. And he still tries to play tennis 3 or 4 days a week. But that's got to be special.
Yeah, I love those guys. And I think – I just hope that we don't turn coaches into cookie cutter sort of personalities on the sideline. I think one of the things in that documentary about the Southeastern Conference is you see those coaches were colorful. They answer to a different beat of the drum than some guys do. They made the league entertaining. And that was one of the pieces that came out to me in the history of the SEC is the type of coaches that have come through the league. And I just hope in today's world, if you act out of the box a little bit, they seem to demonize you a little bit, or something's wrong with you. But I like personalities. I like coaches on the sideline that get into it and fight for their players. And I think that's what made the SEC special in those days.
You know, speaking of Wimp Sanderson, I remember being at an Auburn exhibition basketball game back the night before Auburn played Arkansas State. It may have been November 6th of 2006. Wimp Sanderson's son, one of his sons, was coaching Faulkner State in Montgomery. They were playing Auburn in an exhibition game, and Coach Sanderson was sitting on the bench there at at that time at the Auburn Coliseum. The Auburn Arena hadn't even been built yet, and the line of people went all the way out of the Coliseum, lined up, Auburn fans, to say hello to him, get a picture, an autograph, or just shake his hand. I think that's pretty cool, Coach. And you elicit those same types of reactions from people from your career at Samford, LSU, and Arkansas State. That's a good thing. It's a compliment to you, and I'm with you. We need more of you.
Well, I appreciate that. But what I like about traveling with LSU and doing the color is the officials that I run into. You know, I had a unique situation at Samford because when John Guthrie ran the Southeastern Conference officials, he would start them in the Trans-America Athletic Conference, and they would all come through Samford. And John Guthrie would come and sit up in the top of Seibert Gymnasium on the campus at Samford and watch these young officials officiate to see if they could.
Coach, hold that thought. We're going to take a break. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I want to hear this. This is really, I have never heard it put. in the vernacular like this, how these coaches, the officials, rise up through the ranks. We're going to do it right after this quick break. More sidelines. Coach Judd, again, you're giving us the evolutionary journey of officials, and if you could, before the break, you talked about where the officials started, and then they got to Samford. So let's go from there.
Yeah. Well, since the SEC office was in Birmingham, John Guthrie was head of the SEC officials.
Okay.
And he was also in charge of the Trans-America Athletic Conference officials. So when he would bring officials in that he thought may have an opportunity to officiate and move up the ranks to the SEC, John Guthrie came to Samford on Thursday nights because SEC was a Wednesday, Saturday game. So he would bring those guys in there on Thursday and he would watch them officiate. So, I see Doug Shiles and many of those guys started in the Trans-America and rose up. And we always joke each other when I see these guys, we kind of grew up together.
Yeah.
They elevated themselves to the SEC Final Fours, calling in a couple of different leagues now. And, and I was able to get in the SEC and fortunately coach at LSU for those 11 years. And it's really good to see those guys. And I had banter with all of those guys for, 20 years or so, them calling my games. Even Arkansas State, they would come and call in the Sun Belt from time to time. So it's fun to rekindle those relationships and talk about stories. When they would call a technical on me, I got thrown out a couple of times, and when it was serious then. But now it's great stories to tell and to laugh about. And one thing officials told me, and they've told me this now, that I was one of those guys. I never held grudges. They had a job to do. I had a job to do. If I disagreed and got into them and they got into me, I just let it go because I knew I was going to get them again. And you have to let it go because there's no way you can ignore it. You're going to get those guys again down the road. So your relationship has to be one that's ongoing and positive.
The cool thing is about the officials, I always loved it watching, my kids playing, rec league and stuff growing up. Every now and then you'd see a kid, and I would get mine to do it, go up and shake hands with the officials, even in 5th and 6th grade before the game. Because, my middle son, redheaded Irishman, blue eyes, he's pretty fiery temper. They used to know, but always, and hand the ball to the officials. Little things like that, they notice it, don't they?
Yeah, they notice it. I don't know if it affects their calls or what they see sometimes, but I think all that's a teaching process of in anybody, whatever level you're on. I think respect for one another is a good thing, and regardless of the level of success that you have or don't have, I think you need to retain those kind of qualities regardless of the situation you find yourself in.
Yep. And again, my continuing quest, it'd be so cool having you now broadcasting some of these games in March Madness. Would you ever want to do that? Or do you like being in the man cave at home watching it where you're in complete control, but you would be refreshing on the air because there's some great ones. You can't beat Bill Rafferty. He's got onions. I mean, what would your saying be?
I don't know. I don't know if he just did that because that's who he is. And I think it just came natural. Is that something he would say? And that's the beauty about those kinds of guys. I don't think they're pre-programmed to do anything. Yeah. They're just themselves. And if something comes out that works, I think they just stay with it. And that's what I like about those type of guys. They're who they are. They're themselves. And the network allows them to do that because I think it's entertaining for the fans. And it's something that they identify with over the years with that particular announcer.
Yeah. Well, you and I grew up watching, Tom Hammond and Joe Dean. Did it get better than Joe Dean? Some guards getting hot from out on the perimeter. Little string music here from downtown Lexington, KY.
Well, he'd say he shot it off the banking board, or it's Stuffarino from Starkville, Mississippi. Those are things. He was before his time. He was before Dick Vitale. I mean, Dick Vitale's an icon, but Joe Dean was before all those guys and had phrases that are still used today, which shows you, the personality of Joe Dean. If you ever were around him or ever heard him speak, the personality of Joe Dean is unique.
He was just he was good. And I remember one time he was doing a game in Memphis at the old Mid-South Coliseum, which sadly will not be turned into the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. It's going to be torn down probably. They were talking about expanding the Coliseum, the Mid-South Coliseum, and he's talking to Dana Kirk or somebody before the game. He goes, "Coach, it looks like they're literally going to raise the roof, on this place." And then got in there and he'd go, I'll never forget, maybe it was Dale Ellis playing for Tennessee. He goes, "Little Stuffarino here in downtown Knoxville on the Tennessee River." He became the athletic director, and he just had such a coolness about him. But people forget, wasn't he a shoe salesman before he became all that? I mean, he was one of the big shoe guys.
Well, he was the face of Converse Rubber Company.
There you go.
He moved up in there, and he became the national sales promotion director for Converse Rubber Company. Always lived in Baton Rouge because he played at LSU.
Yeah.
And here's something you may or may not know. Kermit Davis Jr., when his father was the head basketball coach at Mississippi State, Joe Dean Jr. and I were grad assistants for his dad. And that's my relationship with the Dean family. And I told Birmingham this the other day, which that's where Joe Dean Jr. lives now.
Yeah.
Joe Dean Jr. got me the LSU job through his father. You can say I deserved it or didn't deserve it or whatever the case may be, but that's why I always say relationships are seriously important in growing up. And you never know in your life when somebody you've made friends with or treated poorly can come back to either help you or hurt you later on in your life. And Joe Dean Jr. helped me because we became friends when we worked as GAs for Kermit Davis's father at Mississippi State.
Yeah, and Yancey Porter's on with us, Rebel Yell Hotline in Oxford, Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, Monday nights at 6 and all over Super Talk, Mississippi. And Yancey, we got Coach John Brady on here. A native of Macomb, Mississippi, down there in South Mississippi. But we're talking about his just all basketball. You can't talk this stuff enough. And Coach, what'd you think yesterday about Chris Beard being announced as the new basketball coach 2 weeks ago before anybody said a word about it? Our man Yancey Porter from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, down in Pine Country, was talking about it. But I think Ole Miss fans are starved for success, and I'm a huge Kermit Davis fan, and I'm glad to know that he mentioned him and his relationship with him, and you're right. Life is all about the relationships and never, ever forgetting to take time and always acknowledge the people who help you get there.
Well, I just think that speaks to the type of person. You can take whichever side you want with Chris Beard. What's done is done, and I'm sure the powers that be at Ole Miss vented that at the highest level, from the chancellor, president, whatever the title is, all the way through the administration. And so, personally, I've known Chris Beard a number of years, and I think he's a good friend. I think he's one of the best coaches out there. I think the thing with him, when his personality penetrates that team, that team, those players, wherever Chris has been, love playing for him. And I think the players are going to be relaxed. They're going to play hard. I think he's going to recruit well. And I think he's going to put an outstanding product on the floor. And Kermit Davis is one of my dear friends. In fact, I'm going to see Kermit next week. But, you know, just because it doesn't work at a particular place doesn't mean a guy can coach or can't coach. That has nothing to do with it. And you look at the Ole Miss, there's only one coach in my recollection that hadn't been fired at Ole Miss, and that was Rob Evans. When he had a good year, he left and went to Arizona State or somewhere. Every other coach at Ole Miss has been fired. It's a difficult job. But I think Chris Beard will do a great job there. And I'm glad, you know, Ole Miss did the research and invented it however they wanted to. And I'm glad Chris is back into business because I think he's an outstanding coach. Yeah,
impressive. Yancey, that press conference yesterday was that was really impressive. I'm with Coach. Your thoughts?
Yeah, first of all, Coach, it's funny you're on the show today. But I was with Kermit for dinner for one of his good friends, Gordon Ford's birthday this summer. Yeah. We were talking a lot of stories about you and one of your weddings and getting up and having a good roast with you. And Kermit thinks the world of you, by the way. I was laughing. So I've heard a lot of good stories from AK and Kermit and other coaches. You're really liked through the coaching community. I just wanted you to know that. Secondly, yes, sir, the press conference yesterday. Unfortunately, I was on my way down to the Mississippi Gulf Coast here in Mississippi to see my son play. They got largest high school state tournament this week going on here in Biloxi, Mississippi. So I missed it, but I did get to see it streamed through the SEC network. And yeah, I mean, you can see why Beard is so well liked by his players and administration and fans, and why he gets so much support on down from the players, like I said, to the students and the fan support he gets. And you know, he's a dynamic personality type of guy. You know, he kind of has that Bob Knight, you know, that defense. I think he mentioned defense 6 times during his press conference. You know, he's one of the best coaches in college basketball.
Yeah, agreed. I don't think there's any doubt. And Coach, you know, he talked about the basketball fraternity. And Coach, I know we're keeping you along. I know you got to go, but he talked about the importance of that basketball fraternity and the number. He recognized like his community college, junior college coach that was out there in the audience yesterday, and his former players. And he looked over at the Ole Miss players, and I thought that was cool. He goes, you know, these guys, he got really emotional. I mean, you understand how hard it is to be a coach. And anyone that relishes in a coach being fired is somewhat sick. That's just my opinion. But you have to understand what you go through. Even if it doesn't work out, you have relationships that, I mean, people see you 3.5, 4 hours on a Saturday or 2.5 hours on a game night or game day, whatever, in basketball. But there's another 20 hours a day behind the scenes that they don't see. That's where you really develop and bond, isn't it?
Well, I agree. And you know, I think Chris Beard is very thankful and grateful and appreciative of Ole Miss giving him another opportunity. And I think you're going to see that in the course of his work and his dedication and the product that he puts on the floor because of what Ole Miss has done for him. You know, redemption's a great thing. And some people don't give redemption. And Ole Miss has stepped up and done that for Chris Beard. And I think you'll see it in the way that team plays and how he handles his players and how he gets along with everyone on that campus.
Yeah. Yancey?
I think that's a great point, Coach. You know, you get someone that is as hungry as Coach Beard with the charisma that he has. And I think it's just, you know, catching lightning in a bottle for Ole Miss. I mean, this is going to be a coach that is coming out with his hair on fire, so to speak. He is going to be recruiting relentlessly. He is going to try to prove the world what Coach Beard is all about. And, you know, you couldn't really, this is the perfect situation for the University of Mississippi.
Yeah, and they showed the crowd that was out there yesterday. There was a bunch of people they had to do it inside of the pavilion. I thought that was a message, for him. He had them do several hottie toddies and all. And Coach, one last question before we go, because we're going to go to a break for you, and I know you got a big day, but I really wish, and I hope nobody gets sick, but if somebody gets like, a fever or something like that, you think maybe you're going to get to do one of these games on TV? Because we need you, because you are kind of like a coach people can relate to. And what you said about Chris Beard, if Yancey and Ole Miss did their homework, thumbs up. We can't, never forgive people. So I'm with him. His hair is on fire. I guarantee you he's on the phone right now, lighting it up, isn't he?
No doubt. He's one of the hardest workers now. He sometimes he won't sleep. I mean, he that's all he does. That's his life. And Ole Miss is going to benefit from that without a doubt. And if it can be done there, he's one of the guys. There's probably a few others, but he's one of the guys I feel strongly that will do it and can do it.
Yeah, because Andy Kennedy, 12 years, won about 21 games a year. He knows Andy Kennedy. Like I said, it's a tight fraternity. Unbelievable. But Coach, look, I thank you so much for taking time to join us. Want to do this again next week. Again, you're national champion. Your Final Four one more time, because this just came in from Jay Evers out of Birmingham. Who were your Final Four?
My Final Four guys are Alabama, Duke, Texas, UCLA.
Okay.
I got Alabama and UCLA playing for the marbles, and I'm rolling Tide, baby.
Oh, there we go. Hey, Coach, look, man, thank you. And look, are there if there's a way people can follow you on social media? You do put out some good content, and now you're free to be watching all these games. So how can they follow you and keep up with you? And Yancey, you and I are going to come back after the break, because we got a bunch more to talk about. But I'll let them know.
I have no idea. I have a Twitter thing, and I'm but I don't know. It's John Brady low something coach, I think, something like that.
Underscore coach.
Underscore. That's it.
All right, Coach. Have a great rest of your day.
You tell Kermit hello when y'all see each other. Or are y'all gonna be together in Destin next week?
Yeah, that's right.
Good. You tell him Yancey Porter said hello.
I'll do that. I appreciate it.
Gordon started telling me about Yancey. Gordon started telling me about Kermit Davis in 1988. So that's incredible following him. And I talked to Gordon yesterday. We're looking forward to getting Gordon back on the show here very soon. He was at the doctor yesterday, but man, Yancey, God, we got a lot to talk about. I'll tell you what it is right after this quick break. Sidelines on Wednesday.
From Hewlett & Dunn, just coming to let you know about our new collection of boots. It's going to be our dress boots. They're the Horsepower collection, and they're genuine exotic leathers and really comfortable. Comes in all different sizes and patterns, so come check them out.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-City exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Brown. Talk sporty to me.
All right. Rob Brown back with Yancey Porter Rebel Yell Hotline. You can check it and listen to it every Monday night, 6 p.m. Sports 56, WHBQ in Memphis and Super Talk, Mississippi. It is a big, big time show. They need more time, but it's awesome. Rebel Talk. And you got Chuck Rounsville, Yancey Porter, got the Gary Darby. And always remember Yancey listening to the late Stan Sandroni from down in the Delta. I think he was from Greenville, Mississippi, wasn't he? He was so cool. He was so cool on that show. And I'm an Auburn guy, but I listen to all these other fans' shows. I've always done that. I can say I'm an AM radio junkie, but y'all do a phenomenal job on there. And again, you got to give credit where it's due. You were 2 weeks ago, Chris Beard. People are like, what? You know, it's kind of like, buy Blue Horseshoe. You're like E.F. Hutton. And it's happened. I watched that press conference yesterday. Chris Beard is like a younger version of Bruce Pearl in terms of intensity, enthusiasm. I thought he was going to explode up there on the podium. And I'm not a ceiling man, okay? I don't put ceilings on any program. You can't win at this school. You can't win at that school because, let me tell you something. If the commitment is there and the will and the money, the financial commitment, you got to look in the mirror every morning and say, no, it's not what I want to do. It's what I'm going to do. No, I'm committed to the following. Do the Superman pose, 2 minutes in the mirror every morning. I got this. Nobody's stopping me. I got to get out of my own way. Chris Beard, that press conference, if you're an Ole Miss fan, you better buy low, meaning buy your season tickets right now. Kermit Davis did everything the right way. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. But he's a guy, if you've ever met him, and I know too many people that know Kermit Davis, they all love the guy. Andy Kennedy. They've had some coaches have success. I think Chris Beard's going to talk to those guys, take everything they did right, wrong, and everything in between. And I think Chris Beard is going to do things that have not been done at Ole Miss. Bob Weltlich showed signs of it. He left, went to Texas. But I think this Chris Beard hire is one people I think maybe people appreciate it, but I think it is the biggest brand name hire, along with Lane Kiffin, that Ole Miss has ever made.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting what Glenn Boyce, the president of Ole Miss, and Keith Carter, the athletic director at Ole Miss, has done, right? I mean, you've taken two coaches, the two biggest sports in football and football and basketball, and just kind of resurrected careers. Guys that are on the rebound, guys that, maybe had a little PR hits in their coaching career. And they were both elite coaches, right? And Lane Kiffin and now Chris Beard. But like, I said earlier, like Lane, he came out, he won 10 regular season games in year 2 at Ole Miss. And I expect very similar results from Coach Beard when he comes to Ole Miss. I think, or he is at Ole Miss now, but I think you'll see him win big, and I think you'll see him win big very, very quickly. Some fans criticized me at Ole Miss when I said I expected Ole Miss to be in the NCAA tournament next year. Said, why did you put all that pressure on him? And if you notice in the press conference, he put even the pressure on himself. He said, hey, we'll be in here again next year watching the selection show for Ole Miss. So, he knows what's at stake for his career. Like I said, he will be coaching with his hair on fire, recruiting with his hair on fire. Before he was even formally announced yesterday morning, the day before that, he was in 5 different recruits' living rooms from representing Ole Miss before he was even formally announced as the Ole Miss head coach. So, he is really going to be coming in here highly motivated. He has a really good nucleus. Look, Kermit Davis recruited at the back top 15 classes at Ole Miss in the last 2 years. Now, this year's incoming class was not on the court to be able to help giving the production, but Beard has a really good nucleus, especially guards. So there is, it's not like the cupboard is bare for Coach Beard, and he's going to be in a total rebuild. For whatever reason, it just did not work with Kermit. But look, Kermit is a hell of a coach, a hell of a guy, and I hope that he gets another chance somewhere else. And I think he'll come out coaching with his hair on fire at the next school he's at. So, you know, but I really do. I think Ole Miss is catching lightning in a bottle here with Coach Beard. The SEC is, you know, the basketball was an afterthought, you know, 10, 15 years ago. And now you look at the coaches that are in the SEC, the recruiting that is going on in the SEC. When's the last time we had a school not named Kentucky or Florida that was projected to win it all, you know, going into the NCAA tournament? It's just, I mean, it's amazing what the SEC has done with basketball. You look at a school like Ole Miss that has put $150 million into their basketball and practice arena facilities. That indoor practice facility for Ole Miss is as good as anybody in the country. And we all know that the pavilion, the arena at Ole Miss is nice, as good as anybody in the country. So they put the money into the program to win. And so, you know, they want to start winning. You got to remember Keith Carter was the, you know, one of the top 3 or 4 players in the history of Ole Miss basketball. And now he's the athletic director.
Yeah.
So there's, you know, there's really a lot at stake for Ole Miss.
Well, I thought that was really cool. Gordon Ford, like I said, I talked to Gordon yesterday, ready to get him back on here ASAP. He had Keith Carter on our show a few times before, and I was really impressed at how much faith that Chris Beard has in him. Alan Green, formerly at Auburn, who's now deputy AD at Ole Miss, and Chancellor Boyce at Ole Miss. They did the homework. And, you know, people say what they want to say. That's fine. Ole Miss did the work. And Chris Beard is so excited that he's got an AD who excelled and played college sports, basketball at Ole Miss. Gordon was on that team as a manager with Keith Carter. I don't know Keith. I've had him on here a few times, interviewed him. He's an impressive guy. And again, let's go back, Dudley, put a couple of things in perspective. Yeah, Ole Miss, as Coach Brady said, every coach, but golly, Ron Anderson, who was golly, I'm now drawing a blank that left for Arizona State.
Rob Evans.
Yeah, Rob Evans. Yeah, Rob Evans, who and he played at Ole Miss, didn't he?
No, he did not play at Ole Miss. He was actually from Arkansas. And
that's right. Okay, yeah, but I remember when Rob Evans went to Arizona State. But every coach other than him at Ole Miss, you know, has been fired. But now, or they left. Bob Weltic left. But the point is,
he went to Texas. Yeah,
yeah,
Bob Weltic went to Texas, and Evans went to Arizona State, and then all the other coaches in my lifetime have been fired at Ole Miss. So,
yeah,
you know, that's really made it difficult to recruit quality coaches at Ole Miss because they have that stigma around the program that, hey, you go to Ole Miss, you're going to get fired. So, you know, it's really important when I said there's a lot at stake because you look at someone like Andy Kennedy that averaged 21 wins a year for 12 years at Ole Miss, and he gets fired. And then Kermit Davis comes in. You know, he had been, you know, 10-time conference coach of the year in 5 different conferences in his career, and he gets fired. So, you know, that really hurts you amongst the coaching ranks in the basketball fraternity. So this was a very unique position and situation that Ole Miss was in, like, you know, Auburn was able to get a Bruce Pearl because of the situation he was in. And so you got it, and we all see how that's worked out for Auburn now. So sometimes you got to take those chances. And I like what, what Keith Carter and Glenn Boyce have done here with both Lane Kiffin and Chris Beard.
Yeah, I do too. And just, you know, let's not single out Ole Miss in fairness. Look around the SEC. at how many basketball coaches have fired. Very few at any of the 14 schools have left of their own volition, of their own accord. Sua sponte.
That's
You know,
true.
it's a tough
That's
look.
true because you have SEC expectations, and the SEC was the schools were not investing in the programs.
That's right.
But they had those high expectations. And then we started seeing it kind of really started with Auburn, right, when they built their pavilion. And then Ole Miss built theirs. And now we're seeing, I think Alabama has plans to renovate or redo theirs. And, there are a lot of programs that are now really invested. Texas, that's coming in, has a brand new basketball arena. So you're starting to see the programs. Like I said, Ole Miss has put $150 million into their basketball program over the last 5-6 years, and so it's time for them to start reaping the benefits of that.
Well, it's kind of like this. If you're just taking income from your principal versus growth in income, who's going to be around longer? You got to you got to reinvest. There's two kinds of people that you have in life around you. You have investors and you have takers. You've got to have investors. Looking at that crowd of folks there at the pavilion in Oxford yesterday, more and more people are moving to places like Oxford, Starkville, Auburn, these college towns. They're retirement communities. They got great medical centers. They've got everything. They've got the performing arts. They've got sports. That's why Keith Carter, he hit a home run on this one. This guy looked like a bull in the pen, waiting to be let loose, on a Sunday afternoon in Barcelona. I mean, he was just frothing at the mouth. I mean, you think about when Pat Dye got the job at Auburn, he was so excited. He was running down the hall after the press conference, January 2nd, 1981. And I think it was Bobby Louder, someone at Auburn, said, "Coach, don't you want to know what you're making?" He goes, I got to go recruit. That's the kind of guy that you want. You give me that guy that is just drooling and salivating to get out there and recruit and get to work. The kid that shows up early in the morning on a job and says, "What can I do to help?" That makes sure everybody around him has what they need. Remember that great scene in the movie, We Were Soldiers, and they're watching those guys in OCS training, officer training, and they're saying, that one right there, Yancey Porter, he's a good one. He's making sure all of his men have dry socks, have something to eat, and he takes care of his men first. That's Chris Beard, man. It's going to be fun. And Yancey, we got a few more minutes. Olin Buchanan's going to be joining us from TexAgs.com. But, Gordon and you and Keith Carter and the people at Ole Miss, they love basketball. Here's a question from Boo Radley from Pineapple, Alabama, who says, can Chris Beard go in and recruit Memphis, knowing that Penny Hardaway is building a juggernaut in the Bluff City? I think he can. There's a lot of players in Memphis.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what Coach Beard that he emphasized over again. You got to have the talent to win at that level, which he will get. I don't know if he's going to really focus on Memphis. He's going to focus really on players throughout the country. You look at his 2 signings there at Texas.
Yeah, Yancey, you there? You're talking about Chris Beard's time at Texas. Was there only, 2 years, wasn't he? Yeah.
Sure.
Yancey.
He had 7.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah. You were talking about Chris Beard's time at Texas. He was there for 2 years, wasn't he? Or not quite 2 years. But I just think he's I think
he had about 4 or 5 grad transfers, which 3 of them ended up in the NBA. So I think you're going to see, like with Lane, the portal is going to be able to elevate Beard's talent level tremendously, because he was really heavily involved in the portal before it was the portal, when it used to just be grad transfers. So I think it's really a good mix for him coming into Ole Miss.
Yeah. Just got this in. Chris Beard was 8 games into his second year at Texas. that from our good friend Dave Cody out in Bellingham, Washington, but formerly sportscaster there at Channel 7 in Austin. It's just an amazing story. But Yancey, I know you're busy. You've got a lot going on, and you're in my prayers. And look, man, you were way out there ahead of everybody else. Can you tell me where interest rates are going to be 3 months from now? I'm kidding.
Well, they're going up. I'll tell you what.
I think another 4 to 6 months of increased interest rates. Yancey Porter speaks. Yeah, people listen.
Unfortunately, be very weird with the market right now.
I hear you.
It's going to go up about 50 basis points.
Hey, here's a little bit of trivia. Yeah, the bond market is 5 times larger than the stock market. Let that sink in. Yancey, tell people how they can follow you, and I will holler back at you. But great work as always. But people need to keep up with you every day.
Yes, just go to Twitter at Yancey Porter, and you can follow me there. There's not too many Yancey Porters, so it should be on.
All right, Yancey Porter, man, thank you so much. Rebel Yell Hotline, Monday, 6 p.m., Sports 56 and Super Talk, Mississippi. Have a great day, Yancey. Thank you.
Thank you, and you and all your listeners have a very blessed day. Y'all take care.
You bet. All right, man. Let's switch gears. Head out to College Station, Bryan, Texas. Olin Buchanan talking to Dave Cody about you yesterday. He said, Olin used to work with Kirk Bowles over there at the Austin American Statesman. He goes, those were the guys. I met Dave Olin 40 years ago. I was working for Channel 13, WHBQ TV in Memphis, doing the weekend and then weeknight sports and everything. And then, of course, he went out to Austin for like 36 years. And holy cow, I'm telling you, man, this giant wave of Texas, because you've covered Texas. Now you cover Texas A&M. And by the way, you put out a recent piece. I think it was on Facebook. My wife Audrey saw. She goes, it was about your career when everything changed and you didn't know what you were going to do. And she goes, oh my God. She goes, I miss having Olin on the show because I know your schedule got real tight. But I just want you to know you always have a spot every week on this show. If that means anything, we absolutely love having you on here because you're one of the reasons why people love college sports. You put out so much great information. We're going to talk with you more right after this quick break. Give us a few seconds with Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com. Okay, Dave Cuddy wanted to remind you, Olin Buchanan had a cameo in Varsity Blues. I think he still gets small royalty checks. Mm-hmm. What those are big checks, aren't they?
The last one was 4 figures. Of course, there's a decimal point. So his last one was like $11.03.
Man, hey, nothing like being a movie star, huh?
What about Dave Cody being on top of things?
Hey, he is. Look, he's like the crawl under the screen. He sends me so much cool information. Again, you know this in the business that you're in the relationships and the people that y'all know. But it is. I'm so excited having A&M and Texas and Oklahoma coming in. This, I don't think people have any idea how wild this is going to be. But you remember Charles Kuralt used to get in his RV and go all over the country. He spent a lot of time in Texas and Oklahoma. These fans out there where you are super crazy passionate. And watching that Aggie basketball team, man, I think they're a 5 seed. They should have been higher.
No, they're a 7 seed.
Okay, 7 seed. I'm sorry. Tennessee got a higher seed though. Aggies were 15-3 in the league. Tennessee 11-7. Buzz Williams, you're around him, but he's one of the best coaches in college basketball. To the Aggie people, I'm sure he's getting a pay raise.
Well, that has not been announced yet, but I'm sure it's coming because they've done a heck of a job. I think it's really impressive what he's done is, they were 6-5 on December 21st after losing to Wofford.
Yeah.
And he kept that team together, got them still believing. I think that Wofford loss was kind of a cold slap in the face. And everybody got on the same page. They have a transfer from Michigan State. They have a transfer from Mississippi State. They have a transfer from Wichita State. And that they have some freshmen playing. And those guys with the holdovers, I don't think everybody was on the same page. It was taking a while. And during that Christmas break, they had more time to focus on, okay, here's what we're not doing well. Here's what we're doing well. And here's the way I want it to be done. He's kind of unorthodox in the way he plays defense. And I think it just took them a while to get it and get the chemistry. And once they put it together, they've been a good basketball team. And I think Buzz will be rewarded for that. Not by the NCAA selection committee, but by Texas A&M Board of Regents.
Well, I mean, he's one of the more likable coaching personalities out there. That's not you watch him on the set of SEC Network. He looks more like, an accountant or a Wall Street analyst in the three-piece Brooks Brothers suit, I would assume. But
the man does dress well.
He does. But he seems like he is an intense coach. But those guys, I mean, you don't see any BS with his team. They're a well-disciplined team, but they don't have the household names. But God, all they do is win.
And they're really, really good guys. I mean, as a reporter, sometimes we get to where we think we know these guys because, based on 15-minute interviews. But these are really good guys that don't get in any trouble. I'm not saying they're all choir boys by any means. But they're just really good guys, and that's one of the things he wants. And they work really hard. That's one of the things he looks for because he knows his style is a little bit different and his approach is different. So he looks for guys that he thinks are going to fit into that style, and sometimes it takes him a while, like this year, to get it going. He even said, because of the way they operate, that they are going to probably lose a game before Christmas every year they shouldn't lose. And a couple of years ago, they lost to Fairfield. And this year they lost to Wofford. He said, but because of the way they approach things, that they'll probably win a couple of games after Valentine's Day, that they will maybe you'd think they shouldn't win. So whatever it is, whatever his plan works. It worked at Virginia Tech. It worked at Marquette. And I'm one of those that thought that A&M should have been in the NCAA tournament last year after getting to the final of the SEC tournament, and they didn't get in. But this year they got in. They just should have been seated higher, in my opinion. But they're not worried about that either. So, by the way, I want to throw in something. I heard you talking to Yancey beforehand. And you were asking if Chris Beard can recruit to Oxford.
Yeah,
he recruited to Lubbock.
Yeah, I didn't ask that question, but that's a great point.
I thought they were talking about that.
Yeah, we were.
Because Oxford's like an hour and a half from
Memphis.
What, Memphis?
Oh, it's less than an hour. It's less than an hour.
Less than an hour. Lubbock is not less than an hour from anywhere.
Yeah, you're right. You know what's interesting about Lubbock? From Altus, Oklahoma, to Lubbock, Texas, is where there's more cotton grown in that region, in that stretch. The only place in the world where there's more cotton grown, as a guy said in my world history class when I was at Auburn, in the Yangtze River Valley in China. Yangtze, not the Yangtze, but the Yangtze. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. I was wondering if that guy from My Pillow shouldn't be going down there and getting some of that cotton for his sheep.
That's my point. Why is he going over there to the Gaza region in Egypt and getting the cotton when you can get it from Altus, Oklahoma, or the Mississippi Delta, or go to Wilson, Arkansas. It looks like there's a blizzard right now. There's so much cotton at the gin over there. But Olin, here's a question from one of our listeners. I love these names that come in. Janice Joplin, Beaumont, Texas.
Port Arthur, actually, but okay, close enough.
Okay, Well, this one says they're from Beaumont, but you're Port Arthur. You're right. Sabine
Oh,
River.
Janice is from Port Arthur.
Yeah, that she's from Port Arthur. That's right.
Yeah.
But the question is, do you envision, or does Buzz Williams envision the day when Texas A&M announces plans to build the biggest basketball arena in all the land? That's a great question.
I don't know if they'll build the biggest one in all the land, but there are some talks about possibly building a new arena. At the very worst, maybe doing whatever they can to remodel and renovate Reed Arena, similar to what they did to Kyle Field. Yeah. Or they may just say, hey, we just need to start completely over. But I think in the not too distant future, and I'm not talking about the next year, but somewhere down the line, but not 20 years from now either. I think that Texas A&M will start investing more in basketball and the facilities. Reed Arena is nice; it's functional, but it's. I've been to places that are, you walk in and say, "Now this is a basketball arena," and you don't do that with Reed.
Yeah, well, you've got what's amazing about A&M. You've got close to 60,000 students on campus, 20,000 in engineering. I mean, we think that's. I don't know of another school who has more engineers. That's where your money's coming from. They're engineering graduates. Medical school, doctors make a lot of money. Law school, they do. But that's why A&M has such a wealthy alumni base.
Well,
How big?
They have the Mays Business School, which is one of the best in the country, too.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Okay, so, and they have a law school, too, don't they?
Hey, look, I think I might have told you this before. About 4 to 6 years ago, I can't remember, the comptroller in our state estimated that there's going to be a need for X amount of engineers in Texas in the next 20 years. So the state legislature appropriated $1 billion to A&M for several things, but among those things for the $1 billion was to increase the engineering school. So they expect to have 25,000 engineering students within, I think that by 2025.
Okay, let me put that in perspective. I know we're a sports show, but this matters. I read a book several years ago, I think by Thomas Friedman, The World is Flat. At that time, I was talking about, India and China, the number of engineers and accountants they're producing. And I think America then was producing just over 70,000 engineers a year. Almost a third of them, 28% actually, if I'm doing the math, are coming from Texas A&M that are produced in the entire country.
Hey, it's a AAU school. You can get a great education there. I think your numbers. I've heard they got 70,000 students. So,
okay.
Look, we're a large populated state.
Yeah.
A&M is located kind of in the middle of a triangle between Houston, Dallas, and Austin. Yeah. And A&M attracts a lot of people from out of state too.
Yeah.
It's very competitive. It's not for everybody. Hell, my son goes to LSU, but, and of course he's out of the will. For that.
You're an A&M graduate, aren't you?
I didn't even go to college, man.
Oh, and you're smart. You know what?
Different time.
My youngest son hadn't stepped a foot on college yet. He's going to be a world-class chef like Chef Roger or Gordon Ramsay. That's what he wants to be.
Yeah. I different times. I went straight to work for a small newspaper out of White Oak High School. So in White Oak, Texas, that's the extent of my education. I went to the University of Hard Knocks, but I know things are different now, and that's fine. But I've been blessed to my career to be able to work with Kirk Bowles and guys like that for almost 11 years at the Statesman, Austin American Statesman, and then Rivals and Yahoo as a national writer. And now I'm at TexAgs, and I love it. Best job I've ever had. And I love covering A&M sports. I love covering this A&M basketball team. They're very exciting. And by the way, I'm in Des Moines now, not College Station, because we got a press conference for the Thursday game against Penn State. We've got a press conference coming up in a couple hours.
Well, that's right. You are in Des Moines, up there where the Raccoon River and the Des Moines River are. That's one of the cleanest cities in America. We go through there. We pheasant hunt south of there, and it's a beautiful city. And they got great pork chops. That's what they're known for.
Well, all I know is it's very white because there's snow everywhere right now.
Yeah. It's cold. Let me say something real quick about one of our sponsors, Eleanor Maynard, Hobson Realty, Memphis residential realtor, third generation Hobson realtor, top 5% out of 4,600 realtors in 2022. Folks, go to our website, sidelines.live, hit the Hobson Realty super hyperlink, okay? Take you straight to Eleanor Maynard's website. If you're looking to move to Memphis, sell a house, buy a house, you live in Memphis, the Mid-South, Eleanor Maynard and her team, start with them. They're the official realtor of Sidelines. Damn proud to be associated with her. We're going to bring her on the show next week. A little Q&A, let her talk about what she does. She's got that attitude. Hey, what can I do to help you? Eleanor Maynard, Hobson Realty. That's who we use. Sidelines.live website. Hit the Hobson hyperlink. Olin, the A&M fans, I mean, I've been around A&M fans at the Liberty Bowl, at Auburn games and different things, and Ole Miss games. They, when people go out there to College Station, what they always say is, those are the nicest people I've ever been around. It's just a different, you're right. My wife thinks Auburn's a cult, but because she goes, y'all are just obsessed with the place. But the reverence that A&M people have in everything, Bluebell Stadium, baseball, everything, it's incredible. Do they travel in basketball? Are they taking over Des Moines in big numbers?
I don't know. People like to say it's cold. I'd say it's a culture. But I have to be honest. Basketball at A&M is the number 3 sport. It's the ultimate bandwagon sport. They want you to, if you're good, they'll support it. And they sold out the game against Tennessee. They sold out the game against Alabama. Now, people work, so you didn't have a ton of people in Nashville because that's a 750-mile trip. And if your team loses, you got to come right back. Yeah. I think they'll be well represented in Des Moines, especially because of the potential second-round matchup. Aggies will travel the world to get a chance to beat Texas. And so I would think that they're going to be well represented here. But I don't think they're going to necessarily take it over. I think you'll see either way, Thursday, I think you'll see a lot of maroon and orange cheering for and against each other. And then I think if they both get into the second round, it'll be a great atmosphere.
Yeah, and Arkansas is there in Des Moines too.
Yeah.
So I mean, this
it feels like a kind of old Southwest Conference reunion.
It does,
and they all three hate each other.
Yes, they do. Trust. I'm over at the Cherry Farm right now in Park and be back in Memphis later today. Oh my God, Arkansas fans, they hate Texas. They hate Texas A&M, and they're going to hate Oklahoma pretty soon.
Really? Doesn't Arkansas hate everybody?
I know. I'm like going, hey guys, you're in a conference. It's a family. In the words of LA motorist Rodney King, can't we all just get along?
Oh my!
Wait, let me say this. This is a correction from one of our listeners, Maury Gaston, ASIPCO, American Cast Iron Pipe Company in Birmingham. It's pronounced Altus, as in Al May, not awful. I sold pipe there one time for my early career. So I'm like, there you go, Altus, Oklahoma. But it's the Cotton Belt down there. But no, Olin, what I meant by it, my wife thinks, it's culture. That's why when Pat Dye was asked, what do you think about Texas A&M coming into the SEC? I'll never forget his answer. He goes, well, hell, you can't find a better fit than Texas A&M. They got that collie dog and the Corps of Cadets, and they stand the whole game and kiss your date. And the Pledge of Allegiance comes on, ain't a hat on in the house. What's not to like? So yeah, I mean, and but you grew up in White Oak, Texas. a town of 2,500 people with a 5,000 seat stadium.
Yep.
Again, that's what we love about Texas. And again, I didn't realize this. Charles Kuralt Jr. worked at KTBC behind the scenes on TV with Dave Cody. I love Charles Kuralt. I'm Charles Kuralt. We're in White Oak, Texas today with our good friend Olin Buchanan. Olin has been writing longer than Samuel Clemens. What does he have to say about his career? I'm just getting started. Olin, that's the thing about it. How long have you been writing?
I started my first full-time newspaper job when I was 19 at the Longview Journal. That's why I didn't go to college. And I am now 61. And
wow.
I have been unemployed for exactly as a writer for exactly 3 months when I got laid off from Yahoo, and then I got hired at TexAgs because they were familiar with my work from covering A&M for the Bryan College Station Eagle and for the Austin American Statesman. So I've been extremely blessed. I've been in this business, which is so much fun, for about 42 years, and to be able to do it as long as I have is a blessing. To be able to do it without losing my job at some point for more than 3 months is a blessing. And every day, like days like today, I look out and say, you know what, I'm going to go to a basketball tournament that everybody wants to see, and I'm going to see it. I'm going to get paid for it. All I got to do is write what I think about it. So what could be better than that?
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, we've running out of time here. I'm gonna give you a compliment. You do have a lot of Charles Kuralt in you. That's what's so cool about it, because you're a great storyteller, but you tell it with conviction and a foundation as a great writer. Look forward to getting you back on next week, talking about hopefully the Aggies are going to still be alive. But how can people follow you and keep up with you? Because you put a lot of really pertinent information out on social media, and it's from the heart. And again, that story about you a few weeks ago, what am I going to do now? Look where you are. I love it.
Yeah, Lord's been good to me. Watches out for me. I don't know why, but he does. I appreciate it. You can follow, and I don't know why you might want to follow me on Twitter, but I'd appreciate it if you do. And you can follow me. It's just my name, Olin Buchanan. I'm not going to hide behind a alias or a pseudonym. I'm going to tell you what I think, and I'll own it. So just Olin Buchanan. If you can spell my name, you can figure out how to follow me. And you can also follow us at texags.com. That's just an abbreviated version of Texas Aggies. So texags.com. Anything you wonder about Texas A&M sports, it's going to be there.
I love it. Hey, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. We are blessed. We live in the greatest country in the history of the world. Do yourself a favor. Help somebody out you don't know. And remember this, find excuses to win. See you tomorrow, folks. We're out of here. Thank you.